Now, it's good news for the royal family today. Bumper news, in fact, because profits from the Crown Estate have more than doubled to a staggering £1.1 billion. It means the sovereign grant, which supports the official duties of the royal family, will increase from £86.3 million to £132 million. To discuss this bumper royal payday, I'm joined now by the former BBC royal correspondent, the great Michael Cole. Michael, welcome to the show. Always a pleasure. Wow, what a payday for the royals. A £658 million surge. That's just the extra from last year. And Michael, call me a cynic. Does this give away while Prince Charles might be so into green energy? Because most of that is made from offshore wind farms. No wonder he's always singing the credentials of green energy. He's making a packet from it.
Martin, great to speak to you this afternoon. You make some terrific points there, but let me just explain that the historic lands owned by the monarch, the Crown, are administered by a corporation called the Crown Estates. And all the income, all the revenues from that, and you just said it's £1.1 billion, that all goes to the government. It goes into the exchequer. And in exchange for that, it's an unequal bargain, because in exchange for that, you get the sovereign grant. And the sovereign grant was £83.6 million. Now, that is 1/13th part of the profit made by the Crown Estates. But as you say, the money, or much of it, comes from leasing off parts of the seabed, which are owned traditionally and historically by the monarch, to firms that want to set up wind farms at sea. So the money actually doesn't go to the man, despite him wearing that beautiful crown with how many diamonds I couldn't possibly count. In fact, in the Sunday Times rich list, the king is actually only at number 258, with a fortune said to be £610 million. Well, that's quite a lot of money to the likes of you and me, but it's a lot less than somebody like Sir Jim Ratcliffe owns. So the point is that the monarch doesn't exploit these lands, doesn't sell them on, manages them, holds them in trust for the next generation. And the revenue that comes from the Crown Estates goes to the revenue, goes in taxes, if you will, and helps to finance the Treasury so that our wonderful politicians can spend it or waste it on their pet schemes.
So, Michael Cole, when those pesky Republicans keep reminding us or telling us or trying to convince us that the royal family are leeching money off the state, in actual fact, they're generating a whopping great wad of cash for the government, for the country, via the Crown Estate. Therefore, QED, in your opinion, quite simply, they represent great value for money.
Well, it's a wealth generation point. But as you say, and it's a very good point, the king has been very, very keen on alternative energy sources, and he's been behind a lot of these schemes, even on his own estates, for wind farms, even quite a modest little one, about 25 acres at Sandringham. So he's been behind that. But that doesn't compare anything like what is happening offshore, mainly in the North Sea, but also in the Irish Sea off Lancashire and Cumberland, where these properties, the use of the seabed for wind pylons, turbines, is very wealthy, valuable currency. And it's being bought up by companies who are putting up these monster pylons and are making money out of it. So it's a two-way street, but it doesn't go into the back pocket of the man we see there, into his elegant suit back pocket. Of course it doesn't. It goes to the government, it goes to the exchequer, it goes to mitigate all the taxes that we all have to pay to keep the show on the road, which is what we do. And I hope that the new Prime Minister is making sounds like he understands that he is a guardian of our best interests and that he shouldn't waste our money. Rachel Reeves has been saying something very similar. And I hope that in 4 years' time, we can say that she kept to her word.
And Michael, also out in the information today are the number of foreign royal trips are down. Perhaps no surprises when you look at some of the health conditions of some of the top royals. But King Charles still been very busy despite his prostate cancer diagnosis and treatment.
Yeah, that's right, because the Princess of Wales and almost simultaneously the King revealed that they were suffering from cancer following on their surgery in the London clinic back in January. It obviously has limited the programs that they can pursue. But the King is still doing a lot. He went to Kenya, if you remember. There was the state visit to France and also to Germany. And upcoming is the visit to Samoa for CHOGM, the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, and a tour of Australia. So he's doing his best, and I think it's quite a good best. He obviously has waited 70 years for this job, and he's going to put as much of his heart and soul into it as he possibly can. It's interesting, just to revert to the royal finances, the electricity bill at Buckingham Palace has gone up considerably. And I wonder if that's because the Queen is no longer with us, because she famously went round the palace to switching off lights when the room wasn't being used. Something I fully approve of and rather do myself. I don't live in Buckingham Palace, but if I did, I would do the same. But the electricity bill has gone up, so that's another thing the royal family have in common with the rest of us. And there we see, we wish the Queen was there still switching off the lights when they weren't used.
And another final piece of detail is that Frogmore Cottage is still empty. Of course, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex's former home, it's still empty. Why is that? A certain royal doesn't seem to want to move in.
This is a rather fraught story, isn't it? This range of buildings was once 3 different residences for members of staff. It was lumped together to the specification of Meghan Markle. I think a lot of money, I haven't got the figure in my head at the moment, was spent upon it, many millions at the taste of Meghan Markle. To give Prince Harry full credit, he repaid the money when they suddenly scarpered off to initially Canada and then to California, which may have been her destination all along. The King has been trying to persuade his younger brother, Prince Andrew, to move out of Royal Lodge in the middle of Windsor Great Park, a glorious white wedding cake of a building, into Frogmore Cottage. And Prince Andrew is sticking fast. He's pointing out that he's got a long lease on it, and it's a repairing lease, which means that he's responsible for the repairs, of which there are many being made and are necessary at this moment. So it's a bit of a standoff there. Meanwhile, the Prince and Princess of Wales, who would fit into Royal Lodge very, very happily with their 3 children, they're making do in Adelaide Cottage, which is not a particularly grand building in Windsor Great Park and was used in the past by members of staff, including Group Captain Peter Townsend, who famously had a love affair with Princess Margaret, the late Queen's sister. His wife, who later divorced him, of course, said it was the coldest place she'd ever been to in all her life. So Adelaide Cottage may have echoes of sunny Australia, but it's not a nice place in January or February.
OK, Michael Cole, I have to flick off your switch now, sadly. Always a delight to have you on the show. Thank you very much.